Chapter 3, The Pot Maker. Ever since Scintilla became old enough to accompany her mother to the fields and forests, she began to dream of becoming a pot maker like her mother and grandmother. However, Erinla, her mother, wanted her to become a weaver. On days when she managed to stay at home while her parents went to the fields, Scintilla approached expert potters to learn the skill. They were at first amused by the little girl's insistence, as they thought that she would soon outgrow her childish passion for the craft. Scintilla did not disclose her fascination with pot making at home, as she had overheard a conversation between her parents one night. Her mother was complaining about Scintilla's indifference to weaving. She said, "I shall not teach her pot making, as it has brought no joy to me and only a pittance for my troubles. The riverbank, where the gray and red clay required for making pots is found, is 16 kilometers from here. I need to climb down a sheer drop to the riverbank, and my back aches from carrying the heavy load uphill all the way to the village. Pounding the stubborn clay inside bamboo cylinders to soften it is also tedious. So many times, I've dropped the mold out of sheer exhaustion and have had to start all over again. It takes months to bring out a batch of pots after so much labor. And the reward? A few rupees. But if Scintilla learns weaving, she can make much more money besides providing enough cloth for the family. Weaving is interest in something as one grows older, interest in something amount of money received as income beating. The pot maker, not messy like pot making, and can be done indoors in all seasons. Also, the time spent on weaving one shawl is much less, and the return is handsome." Scintilla continued her visits to watch the potters at work. She saw how the clay was mixed with water and pounded, how careful they were when they pushed their left hand into a lump of the softened clay, and how deftly they rotated the lump as they started giving shape to the rotating clay with a spatula held in the right hand. The regular tap of the spatula on the clay was music to her ears as she watched in fascination the pot emerging out of a shapeless lump right in front of her eyes. After 2 or 3 days, the pots would be given a final touch-up to retain the required shape and to test the consistency. Only then would the pots be taken out to dry in the sun before being loaded a potter to shape a pot. Onto a kiln in a uniform pattern on a bed of hay and dried bamboo and covered with another layer of the same materials, and then the kiln would be fired. One had to tend the fire carefully, as overfiring or underfiring would ruin the entire batch. Erinla heard of her daughter's visits but pretended to be ignorant of them. By late afternoon, Scintilla had to return home quickly, so that when her mother came back from the fields, she would be there. Gradually, Scintilla's visits became a topic of village gossip. People wondered why Erinla was refusing to teach the skill to her daughter. They were worried that if all pot makers followed suit, then there would be no expert potters to take their place. One day, Scintilla's father, Mesoba, was summoned by the village council and asked to explain why Erinla was refusing to pass on the skill to her daughter. He replied in a humble tone, "Uncles and elder brothers, Erinla has never said that she will not teach our daughter pot making. It is only that we wanted her to grow stronger after her illness. You will soon see Scintilla making the best pots in the village." After listening to Mesoba's explanation, the elders decided to let him go, cautioning him to remind Erinla that it was her duty to teach her daughter the skill that was handed down from generation to generation. They also told him that skills such as pot making, which not only catered to the needs of the people, but also symbolized the tradition and history of the people, did not belong to any individual. And experts were obliged to pass on their skills not only to their own children, but also to anyone who wished to learn. Mesoba went home and discussed the matter with Erinla. "Thing as somebody else has just done. The pot maker, check your understanding. Do you think pot making is easy? If yes, why? If no, why not? Would Scintilla be able to fulfill her dream of becoming a pot maker? Explain. Do you think Mesoba and Erinla would support Scintilla? Give a reason." The following year, Erinla took Scintilla to the riverbank where the gray and red clay was found. She taught Scintilla how to dig the clay with a dowel, load it onto her carrying basket, and soak it in the trough in the workshed before stuffing it into the bamboo cylinder in the right proportion to pound it. Scintilla was a quick learner and turned the clay into malleable dough. But when she tried her hand at the shaping of the lump into a pot, instrument used to dig put into shape without breaking or cracking. She could not even hold the lump of dough properly. The mother simply sat in a corner and watched the girl try again and again. While Scintilla hung her head in shame and frustration, Erinla took over the job and transformed the lump into a beautiful pot. These sessions continued for almost a year, but Scintilla was unable to learn anything from her mother. The next year, when Scintilla matured, according to custom, she was sent to stay for some nights in one of the girls' dormitories supervised by a kind, middle-aged widow whom the girls called Anula or Auntie. She had heard of the discord in Scintilla's family and resolved to help the girl in every possible way. One evening, when everyone except Scintilla went to attend a musical evening, Anula saw her taking out some clay and the implements from her basket quietly. She watched Scintilla's containing many beds, as in a hostile determined. The pot maker clumsy efforts to make a pot and noticed that Scintilla was too tense. As a result, the clay seemed unable or unwilling to yield the right shape. When Scintilla wearily let the misshapen lump fall flat on the ground, Anula went to her and said, "Don't worry, little one, I shall teach you how to make a perfect pot." Scintilla watched in amazement as Anula fashioned a beautiful pot and asked her to try again. Scintilla took another lump of clay and, with a confidence she had never felt before, started the process all over again following the instructions she had just received. She created a beautiful pot. When it was done, she sat there admiring her work, but Anula said, "The mouth of the pot is all wrong." Scintilla looked at Anula in frustration, who smiled and said, "When you work with your mother next time, watch her carefully when she is shaping the mouth of the pot. You are a quick learner and you will do well." During the next pot-making session, Scintilla observed how her mother held the left hand and the spatula, how she slackened the rhythm when fashioning the mouth of the pots, and how a strip of elongated dough was added to the mouth to make the rim. Then, on a bright sunny day, Erinla told Scintilla that they should try to make as many pots as they could, otherwise they would not have enough days of sunshine to dry them. They went to the shed quite early to begin. As usual, Erinla completed a batch quickly and asked Scintilla to take over. Complaining that she had a headache and a backache, she went out telling Scintilla to try and make as many pots as she could. Scintilla was surprised and reluctantly began to beat the dough in perfect coordination with her left hand. Before long, she realized that the pot was ready. She started on the next one, and like a sprinter who had suddenly found momentum, she continued making pot after pot with the same speed and dexterity that she had noticed in her mother's hands. Finally, when she looked at her row of pots, she saw that she had made just one short of her mother's tally. Exhausted from the labor, she decided to go into the house and join her mother for lunch. When she reached the threshold, she found her mother lying on the floor. She was not breathing. Scintilla ran towards the common area in the village for help. The villagers raced to the house and sent for Mesoba. When Erinla's body was being carried out of the house the next morning, Scintilla ran after it, shouting, "Mother, I did not wish it to happen this way. It simply came to me. Please forgive me." Those who heard her did not understand what she meant, except for Anula. She intuitively sensed that something momentous had happened. On her way back, Anula noticed that the door to the workshed was slightly ajar. Out of curiosity, she stepped inside and abruptly stopped in her tracks. Two neat rows of newly made pots stood side by side. She could find nothing to tell one batch from the other. She was sure that it was not the handiwork of one person alone. Anula stood there for a long time as if trying to absorb a new phenomenon. Slowly she walked away from this place of wonder, as she considered it to be, because she believed that pots, room feelings, significance incident. The pot maker, check your understanding. Do you think Anula's support helped Scintilla? If yes, why? If no, why not? Scintilla observes her mother making pots. What does this tell us about her? Had just witnessed a profound revelation in the two batches of still moist pots, standing side by side in perfect symmetry inside the shed. A new pot maker was born. Written by Temsilao.